13 striking stone towers, 2 observation platforms, 1 temple with a mysterious purpose, and defensive walls to ward off unwanted guests. We're talking about the archaeological site at Chanquillo in Peru, which baffled experts for more than a century. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates. Let's get started. When researchers finally uncovered the truth, they realized they couldn't have been more wrong. Experts uncovered a giant, 2,300-year-old structure in the desert, and it's called Chanquillo. The Chancellor Complex was built about 2,300 years ago, and people have known about the stone towers since at least the 19th century, but it required a 21st century study to understand its role. Professor Clive Ruggles of the University of Leicester told the BBC in 2007 that it's surprising no one identified the towers for so long. They're all rectangular and stand between 6 and 20 feet tall. Even though they're thousands of years old, they're still in good shape. If you look carefully, you'll see that the towers are organized from north to south across the ridge, with evenly spaced gaps between each of them. This creates a striking serrated view that Chanquillo first came to people's attention in the 1800s, and since then there have been many theories about why the site was there. One theory was that the complex was a place for ritual battles or fighting, and there was a lot of circumstantial evidence to support this. The site is made up of 3 buildings, each surrounded by 20-foot-high walls. While archaeologists didn't know why the buildings were built, the arrangement gave off strong fortress vibes. And it wasn't only the ringed walls. There are multiple areas around Chanquillo where the proof that people did build impressive fortifications back then goes to show just how rife with conflict this part of Peru was. But something about Chanquillo just didn't add up. The thing confusing archaeologists was that Chanquillo couldn't have operated as normal. It seems that this didn't occur to anyone until the turn of the 21st century, though up to that point, no one had really bothered to give Chanquillo a thorough investigation. This all changed in 2001 when someone decided to take a closer look. The experts thought that this aligned with what they'd seen in other structures built by cults. This led archaeologists to believe that Chanquillo actually had a temple at its heart. It also meant that there had been some kind of ritualistic behavior happening on site, but nobody knew what this cult had been worshipping. Then, in 2013, Professor Brian Cox visited Chanquillo for his BBC show Wonders of the Universe, and the physicists described the people who built Chanquillo 2,300 years ago as an anti-civilization nation we know almost nothing about. The details of this culture and all traces of its language are lost. Professor Cox continued, therefore anyone researching Chanquillo had only the buildings and structures to understand. Luckily, the architecture did offer some clues. Its walls were white and decorated with figures. Professor Cox added that even though all but the smallest decorations are gone, what was left behind, and other features around the site, offered experts the evidence they needed to find the truth. You can still experience Chanquillo's actual meaning if you stand in the correct place. Professor Cox spoke of the wonders of the universe, but he could say this confidently in 2013 because 2 other specialists had already published their final findings regarding the complicated universe. Dr. Ivan Gizzi and Professor Ruggles authored the 2007 science report. Dr. Gizzi had only visited Chanquillo because he was studying fortifications at Yale when he made his discovery. Dr. Gizzi's 2001 study. That all changed after the grad student began working at the site. Since the 19th century, there has been speculation that the 13-tower array could be a solar or lunar demarcation, but no one has followed up on it. Dr. Gizzi told Yale News in 2007. The researcher spotted an opportunity and had the support of those around him, so we said, let's study it while we are here. The academic explained that it didn't take long for Dr. Gizzi's instincts to turn up surprising results in the first hours of measurements. According to the study, the 13 towers matched almost exactly with the sun's rise and set throughout a year, which convinced the academic that the towers were there to watch the seasons. So if the sun appeared at the furthest right-hand point of the towers, that would mean it was the summer solstice in Peru. And if it popped up at the opposite end of the towers, then you'd know it was the winter solstice. For the rest of the year, the sun would rise at various points along the towers, so the 13 towers are effectively one big calendar. Revelation was groundbreaking for a number of reasons. It meant that the Chanquillo Solar Observatory was the earliest example of a solar observatory. Peruvian archaeology keeps pushing back the origins of American civilization. Dr. Jesse told Yale News. Dr. Jesse further disclosed that Chanquillo is 1,800 years older than European observatories and 500 years older than any similar observatory. So while the experts may have known about similar ways our ancestors kept time, they had no idea just how long ago it had all started or why people did this. It would have definitely helped civilizations to know when to plant various seeds and crops throughout the year. And it would allow them to pinpoint when exactly to honor any religious festivals that align with the seasons. But the researchers also realized that it could have had another purpose. The experts knew about Dr. Ghazi, and Professor Ruggles thinks the 13 towers could have sent a message to locals that whoever owned or operated them was in authority of everyone else. Even today, the site holds the same power as it did. Even a seasoned researcher like Professor Ruggles was won over by Chanquillo's towering stature. Scientists told Yale News, "I am used to being disappointed when visiting places people claim to be ancient astronomical observatories. But Chanquillo was an entirely different story. Chancello is one. The data supports a formal ceremonial approach and unique rituals during that period." Professor Ruggles stated that not just anyone could have gone up to the observation point and noticed the time of year. That work would presumably have been entrusted to someone highly powerful in the culture. Professor Ruggles told the BBC that a priest likely watched the sun. The sun set while in the plaza next door the masses were eating. Thus, even if the ceremonial throng could have seen the sun, they wouldn't have observed it rise from that all-important vantage point. And access to that special spot was the true display of ancient power. As we said, you can still experience some of that power today after all. The sun rises and sets pretty much the same way today as it did 2,300 years ago. So if you ever find yourself in the deserts of Peru without your Apple Watch, you'll know exactly what time of year it is. Meanwhile, another Peruvian site has come under scrutiny, one that is more well-known but still harbors many secrets. That's it for today. What do you think about this incredible discovery? Let us know in the comments section. Please like and share our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon